Hi everyone, today we're going to go through putting together the Cottage Garden birthday box card and the envelope. So just make sure you've got all your pieces first. So we've got our flowers and our little dots that coincide with each. Now when you're cutting the flowers out, the ink gets quite concentrated in the middle, so you may find if you don't give them a little chance to dry first before you go through to the cut process, you might find that it'll tear. So do the drawing and do the scoring and just let it sit for a little bit before you go ahead and do the cut process, and you won't have that problem. So we've got the blue there, the purple, our green leaves, we've got our branches, our sign and flower, and we've got our back archway and our fence palings, and then we've got our main part of our card base, and we've also got our pieces for our envelope, the piece that goes behind our archway, and also the back of the card where you're going to do your sentiment, which you can do later on if you like, if you just want to put it together and then gift it at some other stage. So I'll put those to the side, and we'll make our flowers first. Now you can do the double up of the flowers and make them cut 2 of every single one, which is quite nice also, but I found it was just a little bit too much, but it is an option if you want to do that. Just glue it in between. So we'll get the pink one. Now to give them a little bit of dimension, just carefully, don't do it too hard, otherwise you're going to rip the petal off, but just bend it around a nice thin pen like this one. Do them all like that. Give them a bit of a squish without putting any crease lines in them. And then you've got your score lines, so you can fold those up. Just use your thumbnail to put it where the crease line is. Do those all like that. Give them a little bit of bend and a little fold, just to give them a little bit more interesting dimension. Now you can use any colour pens to do the writing on the petals, a matching colour, something a little bit darker, or you may just want to do plain black, or something quite dark, or you could just do all white petals and do black, like do a black and white one. That would look quite effective. We want to get our glue. Just put a little tiny bit, doesn't need much. Put that in the centre. Shape those and put them to one side, and then we're going to do the purple exactly the same. We've got 4 of those leaves. Now this one's got a double center in it, a black and the white on top, and what I've done on it is just got a black pen and did some random dots on it just to make it look nice. You can use a gold pen if you like, or if you don't want to do some people really like a lot of bling, so you could replace the dots with some adhesive bling, like this sort of thing. Gives it a nice sparkle. Those sort of things you can pick up from sort of the dollar stores, pretty cheap. Warehouse Stationery has them, places like that, and Spotlight. and they're a good sort of thing to keep in your craft room to just jazz up a project and make it that little bit more special. Do that in the last one. Hopefully you can't hear too much of my neighbour banging around. He's building something, goodness knows what. But he does it day and night, so there's not many a chance you can get without him banging for some reason. Okay, put the black ones on first. As I said, they don't need much glue, just enough to adhere the little dots. They don't carry any weight, so they don't need a lot. And then try and get those in the center if you can. Just makes it look nice if they're all nice and uniform. But again, it's nature, so you don't need to worry too much. And then, like I said, just gotta do some random dots. Like the centre of a flower. Doesn't have to be perfect, just wherever they fall. With a lot of crafting, don't think too hard about it. Sometimes if you try to make things too perfect, it just looks a bit odd. And we'll put those to one side. And then we've got our blue, 3 blue ones. And they have got the white and the yellow. So just keep those. You might want to keep all these little pieces in a bowl. Can be a good idea, because sometimes they go for walkies around your craft room. But you can always cut more if you lose them. And bend those petals just like the other ones. Putting together a card can be quite a relaxing thing to do in front of the TV. Get a tray or something and pop it on your knee. It's always nice. Right. Oops. Bit much on that one. That's okay. Oops. And then put the yellow on top. And that's your flowers. So there's not a lot of fussing around, just nice, quick and easy on those ones. Now we want to get our sign. So it's hard to pick up. Put a little bit of glue on the back of that one. And then center it on your brown black backing. Oops, smudge that there. I'll have to redo that one, but that's okay. sure to let that dry a little bit more. Now the pink ones are a little bit harder to bend, but they only need a tiny little bit of bending, nothing much. You can even do it over your finger. Now for this one, I'm going to put some bling on these flowers because they're the front ones for the front of the card. They've got an adhesive back on them. And then they can go just where those round blobby bits are there. So just a little dot on there without squeezing too hard. I'll just test it on some paper. Place them however which way you want. No rules on this one. And that's your wee sign. So now this one we're going to put on some foam dots on the back. Now next we'll put those to the side a little bit, out of the way. Now next we're going to do our leaves and our branches. Get those ready. Make sure you keep them all up the right way because they've got to fit onto this, so you don't want to be flipping them by accident. That's a good way of having this textured cardstock because you know that's the way up. Whereas this one, it's a little bit trickier when it's a plain cardstock. Now all the leaves, I cut it from the same branch, so they should be exactly the same. So it doesn't matter which leaf you put on which one, that'll go on. So just glue the backs of all of these. Oops. Now, because they've got like a little bit of a bend to them, put on one and then put on the next one just in case they've just bent a little bit. Move them around. Now you can leave them plain, or you can get a pen and put in some leaf veins, which I like to do just to give it a little bit more depth to it. Bit of hair stuck in there. Oops. Glue it to my finger. It's always good. There are left and right leaves. So there's a left and a right. So there are some that you just have to make sure you're putting it on the right one. But it's pretty easy. if you happen to tear the section apart, don't stress. Just glue it on, because the flowers are going to cover most of it and be a bit of a distraction. You can always cut another one if you're worried about it, but if it's got a little tear down there, once it's all been put together, you probably won't even notice. So you kind of want to be a little bit gentle with them. And the last leaf. Now I've got a glaze pen, a Jelly Roll glaze pen, which is quite good. And we'll just do a test. And I just draw some veins like this, nice and quick. It stays wet for a couple of minutes, so don't knock it while it's wet. You can use a green, a darker green, just to accent it, or you can just leave it plain, whatever you prefer. I really like this glaze pen, it's quite nice, gives it a nice shine to it once it's dried. Pause time, take a break or catch up. Right, now we're going to concentrate on our base. Now I've designed this because I found that the ordinary box cards were just a little bit fiddly trying to get in the inserts once the card had been constructed. So I made this so that you don't construct the card completely first. The inserts go in first, basically. So on the score lines, just gently fold them back and forward, because they're going to go in the card like that. And this is our front piece with sides. So it's going to be our front one. And then our first insert, as you can see on the canvas, is going to be 1, and then your 3, and then your 2. So it's 1, 3, 2. Just makes it sit nice that way. So, and we've got our back. So first we'll put on all our branches. Now, before you start gluing them, just place them and make sure you've got them in the right place first. So the 3 tall ones are the easiest ones to do first because they're more unique than anything else. Then you've got this longer one. He's unique as well. And then you've got 3 going that way, 2 going that way. Now I've sliced these off, so that gives you a bit of a leeway of which ones are which. So those ones are pretty much the same. And then that, see how that one's a little bit shorter? Goes, no, I've just made that one shorter. Let's have a look. That one, that's its friend. And then that one, and then that one. So now we can go ahead and glue those on. I've done it this way so that you don't have, it takes the thinking out of where to arrange the branches and things, because some projects they just give you the branches and then you've got to be some sort of florist and work out where everything goes, which I find sometimes a little bit of a brain stress. So it's quite nice that these have got one place to go, easy peasy, all the thoughts taken out. And you can recreate it over and over again and it's going to be the same. A little bit of glue on back of each one. Just line it up the best you can. It doesn't have to be utterly perfect. the last one. Now you've got all your pieces back together. So you've got 1, 3, 2. Now with your one that's got the sides on it, we want to put some marks on it so we know where to put our inserts. So on the back side, I grab my ruler. And a pencil. If we mark 1/2 inch and 1 1/4 and 2 inch from the score line. So we only need to do it on one side. You can do it on both sides, but you don't need to. So if we do 1/2 inch, and 1 1/4, and 2 inches. Just get those little line down. So working backwards, so we've got our inserts in the right order, and we're going to work from the front first. So what we're going to do is that score line down there, we're going to put on that pencil line and have it square along here. So if we place a little bit of glue there, then we're going to get our one with the 3 on it and do exactly the same. Move it up to the score line, make sure that's nice and square, and then fold that down. And then with our last one, we'll do the same as what we've done with the previous 2. Square with the bottom, and then fold that down. Now if you do that, then let me just put the top on the glue. So when you come to do the other side, these will be perfectly glued in the same spot as the other measurements on the other side. So it takes all the thought out of doing that. So if we fold them back, give them time to dry, of course. Now, this is nice and easy. Pop some glue on these tabs, and all you have to do is fold that over and make it nice and flat. Doing it this way also ensures that it's nice and flat to fit in an envelope. So then you've got one glued down already. Now we want to do the second one. Glue on there. Make sure it's flat when you're doing it. Looks nice and lined up. And wait for that to glue and dry. And then the last one, you can actually flip the card over. Right, now we don't want to do anything more as in putting that together, because next we're going to put the fence palings on. So we'll set that aside and let that fully dry. Pause time, take a break or catch up. Now we've got our backing archway, and we've got our three pieces of fence paling. Now you can leave it as is, that's perfectly fine, but what I like to do is just give it a little bit of inking to give it a bit of dimension, make it look a bit weathered and a bit old. I just think it looks quite cool. So I'll show you how I've done that. So I got a scoreboard and sat it down either side of one of the lines and just did a gentle ridge. One, because it adds to the dimension. Oops. It adds to the dimension, and it also helps you know where the middle bit is when it comes to inking and using a marker. And we'll use this one. So now I've used, oops, get that out of the way. Right, so I've used the Ranger Distress Oxide gathered twigs. It matches this one, but you can use any kind of ink you want, depending on what cardstock you're using. So we've got 15. The thing with the Distress Oxides is it gives it a powdery sort of look. Now you don't want to spend too much time on it. I just give it a little bit of a coat here and there. And then I get a marker in a similar colour and I just go over the backboards just so it takes away some of the distressed ink that I've just put on, and it's just a little bit more depth in the cardstock, so it just makes it look like it's behind compared to just being flat. So you can do the next one that way. Oh, the other thing you can do with the scoreboard, we'll put that aside, is you can put it upside down and just give it a few random lines like this. Just to imitate sort of a wood grain. And if it goes off kilter like that, even better, because then it just looks more natural. Just takes away that flat look. Again, if you don't have a scoreboard, don't bother, it's fine. It's something you don't need to do. It's just if you've got one, that's something that you can do. So there's our fence palings. So this is nice and dry now, and you should be able to lay it flat both ways. So if we keep it flat on one way, and we'll adhere the front paling, and it should fit perfectly on that front face. The other good thing is you can do a darker colour for your card base and do a white picket fence, which is quite nice. So we'll add some glue to that. And don't do the tips because they're going to sit up above the card. So where the points are, stop your gluing. Now this side piece, you want to butt it up to the next piece. Like so. If there's a wee bit of gap, doesn't really matter. And then we'll put our card flat the other way, and then we can put our other side on. So now we want to put our archway and backing on. So we've got our 2 pieces for the archway, and we've got our back. This one's got a flap and this one hasn't, so this flap needs to go on that side, otherwise it won't do up. So move those out of the way. Now you don't need a lot of glue on this, just definitely around the outside. That's where these little bottles are good, because they don't put big blobs of glue. They just put just a nice thin line. Put that as straight as you can. And center. And that's going to be like that. So it needs to be adhered that side, so that when we have it, that's going to get glued into the side that doesn't have the tab. You can also, instead of using white card, you could put a nice decorative pattern paper and cut it out of that instead, so you've got a nice colour coming through, like a floral paper or something to that effect. I'll glue that tab. If you fold your card back down, slot it in like that, to that point there, but also making the bottom nice and flush, so it's nice and straight. Get that good time to dry. Always make sure that you, especially when you've got joints that are moving, that you give them a little bit extra time to dry. Otherwise you run the risk of moving it and it just falling apart because you're moving them back and forward. Now our last thing to do is to glue that closed, so it sits nicely. The best way to do is just to glue that tab. Keeping it back and placing that down, flip it over, just make sure it's all nicely lined up and it's nice and flat, and hold it there to glue. Right, now while that's having a nice chance to dry, we'll put the envelope together. So you've got 2 pieces that are like this, those are the big ones. A smaller piece, and you've got your wavy piece, which is your top flap. These are your sides and your bottom. So if you want to put that on your canvas and put an address, well, you could post it if you like, or just someone's name or a picture, so you can decorate that however you want. And you can do this in coloured or pattern paper. It's a good way of using up some of your papers that your cardstock, which you're not too keen on the colour. It's a good way to make envelopes and get rid of it that way. So just following the score lines that the machine's made, we're just going to impress on those. So they're different lengths, you'll see. And these are your big sides. So you've got your big sides, goes in that way, and then you've got your bottom and your top. So if you glue your small side, I'll call it the small bottom, put the glue close to the score line, but not too close, otherwise it starts oozing it all out. Place it not on top, but just about on top, but more beside it, against the score line. If you do it on top, then you've got nothing to fold. You've just basically deleted your score line. It doesn't matter which ones you glue first, they can all be glued in whatever order. It doesn't matter with this. And having these flaps to make an envelope just means that you can have a huge envelope but don't have to use a huge cutting mat. One other thing that I like is having, if you've got one-sided pattern paper that's got like a white or a plain back, you can put the floral or something on the inside, so when they open the envelope it looks really pretty on the inside. Same with that. And then our last one, so we're going to have it folding up that way. Always be mindful of where they stop and start, because you don't want to over glue them. Doesn't need much to close, just one little line thin near the edge. Hold that in place, and the same with the bottom. And then you've got your nice decorative top, just to make it a little bit more interesting instead of a plain cut across. And that's your envelope, and then your card. I've made it just a little bit extra because you've got the bulkiness of the flowers. Once they're on, it does pull up the envelope and make it a tighter fit. So I've made it quite a little bit larger than the card itself, so your recipient doesn't have any issues if they want to put it back in the envelope. So that's a nice envelope. We'll keep that to the side. Now on the back of the card we have got a sentiment card which we can put on. This one is plain, but what I would do is put a nice frame around it with a pen and then write a sentiment and maybe put some little flowers around it, and you can glue that on. Because it lays flat, you can put that on anytime you like. So we'll just leave that off for the second. Right, now we're going to put our flowers and our little happy birthday sign onto the front. You can put the flowers in whatever position you want, anywhere you like. There's no set place for them to be, or you can follow the picture on my project. Working from the back to the front is probably easiest. And you can have it flat, or you can work with it like that. It is actually a little bit easier if it's the branches are separated like that. So we'll follow my original one, just a little bit of glue, nothing much. And what I've done is just sort of put them in the gaps, or where the branches meet. No, I didn't. I actually put them on the tips of the branches that are empty. So pop that on there like that. And instead of having every single flower up the same way, just move them around to make them a little bit more interesting. Just mush that, like those leaves sit up. They will get flattened in the envelope a little bit. And that one goes there. You can put them in before you do the card up, but you're probably more likely to actually damage one of the flowers while you're doing that, so I find it best to put those on last. Got one space left, and tuck him in there. One last thing, our sign. Just about forgot. But yes, if you do make it, do share it in the group. We'd love to see the colours you choose. However you make it, with the same colours or different colours. And this can just be put however you want, straight to the curve. I like it just a little bit off centre. Adds a little bit more interest. And there we have it, the card completed.